Hey, this is Matty Trumpet Mix at MasterMySong.com. Today I want to go over how to make your virtual synth sound a bit fatter. And the ways you usually do that is with, like some sort of tape sound or saturation or distortion or different stereo effects. So I'll go over a bunch of the different ones I use when I'm mixing. And hopefully that will help you out in getting your sounds a little bit thicker when you're making your tracks. So first off, I made this little cheesy bass line. I'll just let you hear it as is, and then we'll kind of go through some of the different, tools I use to make it sound bigger. Okay, there you go, 1970s. So one of the first things that I use is the decapitator. Tons of people use this. You can use this on everything, snares, drums. It just gives it a little more saturation, and it has different kinds of emulators. I can't remember which ones they are, but you can read up on these. And it's pretty simple. It shows you how much you can drive it. You have a low cut, a high cut, tone, which is darker or brighter, and then your output and your mix level. So let's just turn this on, and we'll play with it for a minute, and you can hear the differences. So as you can hear, you can drive this thing crazy. I mean, just for what we're doing, we just want to thicken it up. So you can hear the difference. A little darker, a little warmer. So that thing is great. I mean, you can play with this for days and find great sounds. Another thing I use if you have UAD is the Fatso. And the same thing with this. So here's your input. You get a little bit of compression with it, and then it's got a warmth that just kind of saturates it more and more. So we'll take a listen. Just using real light compression on it, not squeezing it. Thing's already squeezed enough, as you can see. So let's crank up the warmth. So that does that too. That gives it a tape sim. It also gives it just some nice warmth. And the warmth thing you got to be careful with, because you go too much, as you probably heard, it starts getting kind of too warm and dull. So just be careful with the warmth. I don't usually go above 3 or 4 on that. The next thing is really simple stuff. You could just throw some reverb on it. So that always helps, especially once it's in the mix. It sounds a lot right now, but when you have a bunch of other instruments in there, it could definitely help and just make it a little bit thicker. Maybe bring it away more so. Next thing is one of my favorite tools of all time, and that's the Roland Dimension D. And this thing sounds just like the real thing. It's very simple. A lot of times I'll use number 4 or number 1, or in this case I got all buttons in, and you can do that just by loading and going all stereo. So this thing is great, and we'll just turn it up slowly so you can hear it. This is more of a stereo spreader than a saturator, just so you know. So you hear just how big that thing makes it. I mean, this thing is great for vocals and everything else, and it's very simple to use. You just hit 4 buttons, all the options you have. So this is one of my go-tos for a lot of stuff. The next thing in line is just a basic slap delay. So in this case, I just have it on 64th notes, but you can bring it up. The cool thing about Sound Toys is it's got saturation on the delay too, which will help. And the same thing with the reverb. You can use this and just kind of tuck it, and once it's in the mix, you don't hear it as much, but it will give it some depth. And the final thing is just parallel compression with a little bit of EQ. Now, parallel compression is great. It kind of thickens everything up, and then you also are compressing the hell out of it when you're parallel compressing. So what it does is really punch it through the middle for you. So let's just hear this. So I got this 1176, and so you can tell I'm compressing it pretty hard, about 10 dB, and then I just got a fast release so it comes back before the next note. And then after that, I just have an EQ, and if you actually look at my Pultec EQ video, you'll see I'm doing the same kind of thing by boosting and attenuating the saved frequencies. Sounds, well, we're not doing anything yet. So now let's just bring this up. So I got it 0 now. And we'll just kind of bring it in so you can kind of hear it. So you do that with like the Dimension D. Much thicker. So here's like with the Dimension D and just our parallel compression. And this without Dimension D and parallel compression. With. So, I mean, there is a little bit of a gain difference there, and you got to make sure you compensate for that so you're not, thinking just louder sounds better, but it really kind of brings them warmth, and you can even throw the decapitator on top of that to give it a little even more grit and maybe some distortion. And also, that's another option too, is if you have some distortion plugins, throw in a little bit of that, or send an aux, set up an aux and send a little bit to the distortion. That thickens things up a lot too. So hopefully this helped you. Just some cool ways to make your synth sound fatter. Make sure to like and share the video, and if you got any questions, hit me up on my website, mixandmastermysong.com. Thanks.